Welcome to another episode of Educating Homebuyers, the podcast. I'm your host, Brady, and my mortgage team has over 9 years of mortgage experience here in Des Moines, Iowa. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, investing, or simply just curious about the market, this show is all about helping you and future homebuyers feel informed, educated, and comfortable as you take your next step. Each week, I sit down with real estate professionals, past clients, and local experts to unpack real stories, real advice, and what you actually need to know when buying a home today. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Today's guest is a dedicated real estate professional who spent over 15 years calling the Des Moines Metro home. With that passion for helping clients navigate one of life's biggest decisions, she prides herself on delivering a smooth, stress-free experience, whether you're buying your first home or selling your forever one. She's all about having clear communication, strong advocacy, and making sure she feels fully supported in every single step of the way. I can't wait for you to get to know her and can't wait to hear what makes her approach so impactful. Katie Stiles, welcome to Educating Homebuyers.
Hello, happy to be here. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
No doubt. Excited to have a conversation, share your story, hear about just all the tips and tricks on how you've been helping homebuyers lately.
Absolutely. So do you want to start with how I got into real estate?
Let's start with that. Just kind of give a high level view on like, hey, how did you get into the career? How did this lead you to it? And what's kind of your passion behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So prior to being a real estate agent, I was actually a middle school teacher.
Okay.
I did that for 4 years.
Got it.
It was fun until it wasn't.
Yep.
And then one thing led to another and COVID happened.
Okay.
And we relocated back to the Metro. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do a career change, now is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Teaching is going to be, all online.
Isn't it funny how COVID kind of forced your hand a little bit on
for
everything?
Sure.
I feel like everybody was just like, hey, well, now's the time.
Yeah, it was definitely a big shift in my life around COVID time. And anyways, I took a leap of faith. I actually bought some furniture off of Facebook Marketplace from a very successful real estate agent, Mariah Klimp. And I bought her couch, actually.
Love it.
At the time, homemakers had like a super long wait time for furniture. And
I remember that.
And we had just bought our first home.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I just got to like get something to like throw in this house for the meantime, whatever. So one thing led to another. I met Mariah. We became fast friends, still friends to this day. Have gone on multiple girls trips together now.
Yeah.
But she and me hit it off, and I gave her my resume and she posted it on that Des Moines Association of Realtors Facebook group. Yeah. And then that's how I got my first job as like an executive assistant for a broker here in town.
So you got to mentor a little bit and kind of get a feel for it.
Oh, yeah.
So at this point, when you started, no experience with real estate?
No.
Obviously, you had just bought, so you kind of knew what that looked like.
Yeah. No, I had bought my first home. Okay. My husband was working for a home builder at the time.
Okay.
And when I was a teacher, I'd always listen to like real estate podcasts. I was always very very interested in it. Okay. But I never thought I actually would want to be a realtor, which is funny because in high school you take all those tests. It's like, these are the careers that you'd be good at. And realtor would always pop up as one. And I was like, I don't want to work weekends. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. Well, now here we sit, and I'm a realtor, and I have going into my 5th year in the industry. So it all just kind of worked out, which was such a breath of fresh air compared to when I was a teacher. I just felt like it was horrible for me. Like, I love my kids and I still love children. I have 2 of my own now at home. But that was kind of primarily the reason why I wanted to leave education, was I just felt like I didn't have a cup to pour into like when I would go home. Like, I just felt like I was just empty because I would, pour it out all day long with the kiddos and stuff.
No doubt.
So ever since then, real estate's kind of worked out, and it's been way more fluid and easygoing. And there's definitely lots of, troubles that we run into in
always
real
hurdles.
estate. Hurdles, but I've enjoyed it a lot more.
So roughly 5 years, right? At the time of filming.
Yeah.
What's like the first thing that stands out that's like your favorite part about it, or like maybe a client experience that like stands out that's like, man, that was so rewarding, or something along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, like, real estate's all about relationships, and that's kind of how I build my business, is relationship based. Yeah. And I just love making friends, and I love how like strangers can be like
become your best friends.
Yeah, become like my best friends.
It's so funny because like obviously this is episode, I'm gonna get this right, 7 now, I think, of the first season.
Ooh, lucky number 7.
Cool, right?
That's my favorite number.
It's funny how consistent of a theme that's become.
Right.
And maybe it's just because I'm so blessed and fortunate that I get to interact with some of the great people that do things the best way, and build their business around those relationships, but it has been a very common theme. It's like, hey, I just want to help good people, you know, and that's where like the heart behind all of us that work in the industry comes, is like, we just want to be a resource for the people that we love.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
So that's cool that I just wanted to plug that. It's like a common theme.
Yeah.
So,
and I have a soft spot for like my first time home buyers. And I feel like when you first get into the business, you are heavy on buyers.
No doubt.
And stuff. And I feel like
especially at a younger age, right?
Yeah.
And it's your demographic. It's the people you're interacting with.
Absolutely. And so like just recently I had a really rewarding experience. Not only were they just like amazing people, they were a referral too, but like, you know, every once in a while in this business, you really meet a client that really respects what you do and they see how challenging it is and they actually appreciate everything. Yeah. They were just
one in every like 50.
Yes.
No,
so they were like a total breath.
We have great clients.
Yes. And they were like a total breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And I was about to have my second child, my son. I was 39 weeks pregnant.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. And I got a referral and they're like, hey, I know you're about to have a baby, but we're going to relocate and we need to buy within the month.
Yeah.
I was like, can you guys come down like in the next 5 days?
Yeah. As you're 9 months pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally, they came down May 1st and I was due with my son May 5th.
Wow.
He didn't get here till May 10th. But anyway, we kind of hit the ground running. They came down from Minneapolis. They had to rent a car because they didn't have a car. And they were on the hunt to buy their first home. Yeah. And we knocked out like 14 homes that day. And, you know, we ended up finding a diamond in the rough. And
perfect fit.
It really was. Yeah. And we were at a price point that was pretty challenging too. Sure. You know, like sub 250 in Des Moines market. It's
hard to find.
It's hard to find. Yeah. Thanks COVID. You know, and you know, properties, you know, inflation and price and all that stuff. Yep. So we finally found a really great home. Walking distance to Simon's.
Great.
Which is a great restaurant.
Subtle plug for Simon's.
Yes,
love
absolutely.
That.
One of my favorite restaurants.
Yep.
Simon actually grew up on this street that we sold the house on, but that's probably TMI, but it's true.
We won't tell you what street it is.
Yeah, no. But it was just a super fun experience. Yeah. And it was really rewarding because they were in their 40s and they called themselves nomads and they had traveled, you know, all their life together and they've been together for like 20 years.
So out of curiosity, what caused them at 40 to finally be like, all right, A, now's the time. Yeah. Right. And B, like, why Des Moines?
They ended up coming to Des Moines because it was they saw that it was one of the most affordable places to buy a home. I think we're like the top 5 or we're in the top 10.
You probably know better than I do.
I don't know. I saw a TikTok about it. I bet it's true. But and then he got relocated for work. Okay. But they thought, you know, they did the research on the city and everything. Like, you know, this would be a place that we, one, can afford to buy a house. Yeah. And two, it seems like a really fun place to live. Yeah. And kind of like set down roots and stuff. Because prior to that, they lived in California, Arizona, Minneapolis, some really, really big cities that, you know.
Higher pace.
Yeah. Yeah. And higher price of living too. Yeah. So I think that's kind of why they decided on it. They did their research. They thought it'd be a good place to buy their first home. And they were just super emotional too. Yeah. They, you know, she wrote a letter that I didn't give right away to the homeowner, but like at closing when everything was wrapped up, like she wrote a really
want you to know how how much it meant to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just super sweet and a really fun experience to be a part of.
That's just my favorite. Like when there's raw emotion involved. Oh yeah. And it's not a transaction. Yes. Like, obviously it is, right? We're here to help navigate that. But like one of the favorite quotes that I'll ever like talk about when it comes to real estate is like, we're not selling homes, we're selling dreams.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is like, it's always stuck with me. Yeah. It's like, we really just want to help you navigate your dreams.
Oh, absolutely.
And somebody like that who, you know, probably always had in the back of their head, they're 40 years old. They always thought like, I want to own real estate someday. And they just now are finally making it a reality. Yeah. And you were here to help navigate it. Yeah. Like, how cool is that?
It was so cool, you know, but going under contract is usually going to like the first, like once you go under contract, we open up a whole can of worms. Yeah. Especially when we're buying like an older home. Yeah. So there was like.
So talk about that. What are some things you help people navigate once they're under contract on a property?
Oh, goodness.
You don't have to name the whole thing, but just name a couple.
Usually like the big things are like inspection contingencies or different loan, you know, things that might pop up like with an appraisal, depending on like your loan type. You know, you might get flagged for something that needs to be fixed within a home. But for this home in particular, when you buy an older home, there's always usually a pretty long laundry list of inspection items that are going to need to be addressed. And that's what's important about having kind of an experienced real estate agent that is going to advocate for you. It's going to push you to get things done that you might not think is serious, that is serious. Like, so for example, these clients, they're the first time home buyers. You know, I go over to the house and I'm like, hey, it's kind of, the basement's wet today. It smells pretty musty, blah, 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 blah. Like, well, do we want to like kind of like push this further? Like, oh no, it'll be okay, I think. And I'm like,
might not be.
Yeah. You know, so I call my basement guy over. They give us a bid. You know, he says it definitely needs waterproofed. Yeah. You know, so I think it just goes to show, like, when you're a first-time home buyer, do your research on who you're going to work with that's actually going to go out to bat with you.
Have an advocate.
And treat you like family. So I'm like, and that's how I treat all my
clients. How many times have you walked through a house and found something that was wrong or needed addressed? Oh, yeah. That the average home buyer would never have any idea what to look for.
Exactly.
You know? Like, I don't know an example, but like the first thing that comes to mind is like a sewer scope, right? Like me as buying my first house, I would never, ever imagine getting a sewer looked at, you know, in an older property. Like that would never cross my mind.
No.
But a lot of real estate agents highly recommend those, you know, you know, a window being cracked, or, you know, there's a laundry list, like you said, of things that can come up on an inspection, and having somebody who's like pointing these out is so valuable, which the inspector will do, but you also will have an idea and frankly can probably navigate those and point those out before you even get under contract. Oh yeah. Right. And that's one thing that like I think is super important, is like if you find a deal breaker before writing an offer on a property, can save everybody a lot of time and hassle.
Oh, for sure.
So that's a huge value add for working with an awesome realtor like you. So
thank you. Yeah, no, sewer scopes, definitely don't sleep on those. Yeah. Last year it was like a joke between me and my husband every time. I'm like, okay, I have an inspection today. Pray for the sewer scope, please. Because I shit you not, no pun intended, that over half of them,
something came up.
There was something wrong. Yeah. Orangeburg.
Especially in older neighborhoods, right? Yeah. Like that's probably the more common times where something will pop up.
Yeah. And they're not cheap. And they're not fun for a first-time home buyer to, you know, close on a home, realize it, find out the hard way. You'd rather spend your money on your kitchen upgrades and your, you know, master bedroom and, you know, adding a fence to your backyard than spending $7,000 to $15,000 on a sewer line that needed done. So
I think that's a good point, is like, when I'm looking at financing for clients and like evaluating savings, and this is more first time home buyers related than I would say a repeat buyer, but a big thing that I always stress is to try not to utilize every dollar you saved for your down payment. Oh yeah. You want to keep some savings for you know, hopefully good things, right? Like buying new furniture or painting walls or whatever kind of projects you want to do. But you also want to have that reserve too, in case something pops up that you weren't expecting, you know, and we want to do our best to discover it before you close. But you know, I've bought a house before and 6 months later the water heater will go out and the water heater checked out fine on the inspection. So it's like certain things like that can just pop up. So that's something I, as the lender, will review with you, is make sure when you're looking at your loan product that you're not using every dollar you saved to go towards down payment and closing costs. So what's, you know, kind of talk on from a negotiation standpoint, what's some creative ways, you know, you've kind of helped people navigate that, you know, to help maybe minimize the out-of-pocket expense?
Yeah. I like lately, you know, the market is a little bit more balanced, and then, you know, so buyers were able to get a little bit more. And it's been kind of a wake up call to some sellers, I feel like too. But let's say if I have a client that doesn't want to go through all their reserves. Yeah. I will usually say like, hey, let's go closer to list price. Okay. But let's try to maximize like let's ask them for 3%
closing cost credit.
Yep. And that's going to like make it way better on your pocketbook for your emergency fund or for other things, just to have the seller kind of front that bill in a market where we're seeing sellers being more willing to do that. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been doing lately, and I've been seeing a lot of success with it.
And I think the big thing that I think a lot of people won't realize is like, if you're looking at a 3% difference in purchase price, right? If you have a property that's listed at X and you wanted to go under what they're asking for it and try to get a deal, right? Right. I think that 3% difference as far as how much that purchase price savings would affect your payment is not as much as what you would realize.
Right. And that's where I always like lean on like the lenders like you, Brady. But hey, can you explain this to them?
Exactly.
And run the two scenarios for them. Like, hey, if we take $8,000 off the price, or we get them $8,000 in closing credit, what's their mortgage payment going to be? Exactly. And I will say 90% of the time, probably 95% of the time, they're like, oh, I'll go closer. I'll just pay list price and ask for the 3%. Exactly. Or, you know,
I was even talking to a client yesterday. I was talking to him about locking in his interest rate, and we were comparing an option between X and Y, and it was an 1/8 of a point difference. Yeah. But on that 1/8 of a point difference, I was able to give him a $1,300 lender credit if we went with the higher option, and it changed his payment by $30. If you do the quick math on that, that's like 30 plus months of recoupment where it makes sense to take that credit, cover some of your closing costs. So it's not always necessarily when looking at mortgage options, the lowest interest rate that's going to make the most sense, especially if we kind of know in the back of our heads, there could be a refinance opportunity in the future. It may make sense to take a higher rate, cover your costs if you don't have the seller paying them, like what we talked about. But that's a creative way that I look at it with clients is you don't always want to just assume the lowest rate is the best option for you. There's a bunch of different ways to structure a mortgage.
Absolutely. So. I think that's a good thing for first-time home buyers to be aware of, because I don't think they do understand.
Exactly.
They're like, I was going to go with the cheapest rate. And it's like, you also got to think about like who you're wanting to work with. Are they going to be readily available to answer all your questions? Like if you're a person that likes the nitty gritty details and stuff, like you need to make sure that you're choosing a lender and a realtor that are going to
availability,
like be available, explain those things, break it down. Cause it's a big process, but if you work with the right people, it can be pretty smooth and seamless.
No doubt. Easy. And we talk about that often on this podcast, but like it's all about comfort level and making sure that you're comfortable to ask the questions you have.
Absolutely.
And that's where like I always want to drive that home is like if anybody ever wants to ask questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. So
I love that about you and your team and stuff. You guys are always readily available and we
try to be.
Break it down.
Yeah. And we always understand it might not be the right fit for everybody, and not everybody wants their hand held through the process, but that's the way that we've built our business is like we want to be that kind of person.
Yeah, it's better to over-explain than under-explain.
Exactly.
Never assume.
And go in depth. And one thing that we've implemented now with the benefit of AI is we record a lot of our conversations.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we use AI to recap them. Oh. So then we've got notes for everything we talked about. So when I do a buyer consultation, I'm recording it. And then we've got a recap of everything we went through, courtesy and thanks to ChatGPT.
Hey, that's so cool. That is so cool.
It's just like the thing that I always think is funny is like you always hear like, oh, AI is going to replace us and take our jobs. Yeah. What I think the reality is there's ways to implement and utilize AI to make us better at our jobs.
Oh, no doubt.
And it's the people that implement those things. You and I were joking before we got here is like AI kind of helped us prompt and come up with the things we should talk about. Oh my gosh,
yeah. You can definitely just use it as a leveraging tool.
And we want to use it. We want to use it and make sure our clients know we're using it to better the experience for them.
Oh, for
not to make our lives easier or look lazy or anything like that. We'd use it to make us look and operate at a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's always a point that I like to drive home with AI. But
I know, God bless ChatGPT.
Isn't it a fantastic feature?
It is crazy. Like
what would you say? So like from a home buying experience, what's one way you've implemented it to improve your experience for a client that's buying a house? And if you haven't, I don't want to put you on the pressure, but
I'm trying to think of how I use it. I don't really use it as much as I should. I would love to, sit down and learn a little bit more on how to, Sometimes I have it like repolish my, emails to make it, more
professional or
more professional,
understandable,
or more like break it down a little bit further with like not me using such, real estate jargon.
Terms. Yeah. It's easy for us to just assume that somebody understands what it means.
Yeah. So sometimes I use that, or I like doing it for like inspection. I use it the most for my inspection negotiations and keeping my tone very legal and professional. And it just helps like encompass stuff that sometimes
something you could do with inspections, and I'm kind of shooting from the hip here, but you could probably even upload the inspection.
Oh, I bet you could.
To the AI and say, hey, based on this, what are some things I should address?
Oh, for sure.
And like
I'm sure you could. I have an example. And then definitely comb back through it.
And obviously working with a trusted agent, you as the realtor are going to go through that inspection on the client's behalf. However, I remember I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was buying a property for sale by owner, which I never condemn, but it was a situation where it was just an off-market property. Of
course.
Anyway, they got an inspection done, and she was very overwhelmed by what was all on there. And I, rather than trying to be a real estate agent, because I'm not, I just used AI and said, hey, will you review this? And it actually pointed something out that she had not caught.
There you go.
And and the reason I like it is because it's so thorough.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't miss anything, right? And that's where like even human error can skim. How many pages is an inspection?
Usually like 24.
24 pages. Like I'm going to skim that and like probably miss something. Just being transparent on that. AI doesn't miss.
No.
And so that's where like the recordings that I was telling you about when I have it take notes for me. I love that so much because I could have a 45-minute conversation with a client about their goals and what they're wanting to accomplish. And, odds are I'm going to forget we talked about one of those things, after the end of that meeting. Whereas now I've got this AI to recap it for me, and it's checking every single box. So I can make sure that I'm checking every single one of their goals off.
For sure.
Like that's where like the cool part is for me is like, it's just taken that to the next level, and it's allowed me to not drop the ball for as many clients.
Yeah, I think it helps with efficiency too.
It does, for sure.
To sit down and me like look at an inspection addendum. I write the addendums out, and then I'm like, okay, it just helps it be a little bit more efficient. I feel like, and like you said, more thorough.
Yeah, like an example, I'll be in a meeting with a client, and amidst the conversation, he'll bring up and be like, hey, by the way, I'm getting a gift from my parents. And then I explain the process on how that goes through from a mortgage standpoint. And then I'll like say like, hey, just so you know, we'll need a gift letter, and we'll need a copy of their bank statements, or, we'll need a check written directly to title instead to avoid seeing their bank statements. Like there's ways to navigate a gift when you're getting one from a mortgage standpoint. But then we'll continue on back into their goals again. Yeah. And by the end of the meeting, I'll probably have forgot that I told them that I need that gift letter. And then I use the AI, and it'll send them an email. It'll type me an email to send to them, and it'll say, hey, by the way, don't forget, you're going to have to give Brady a gift letter. Yeah. Like it just doesn't let me forget,
Yeah. So in this economy and just like the world, like how often are you seeing first-time home buyers receive gifts?
It's pretty common.
Is it?
It just depends. Everybody's different on their age limit and when they're buying and stuff, but it's pretty common. I will be honest. The other way we use it a lot of times is to help navigate. Maybe we look at a client's bank statements and they have sufficient funds, but we see some like large deposits. In order to avoid having to document those in the amount of paperwork that would be involved in that, sometimes we'll just loop a gift in from the parent and like allow that to kind of simplify the process. Okay. That's a creative way, but it's not uncommon. I always secretly give my parents a hard time, wishing that they would have gifted me money for my first house.
Oh, I know.
But my parents were very gracious over my life too, so I never want to give them too much of a hard time. But gifts are very, very common. And the only thing I always tell people is like, the more upfront you are about receiving that money, the smoother the process will go. Right. Because if you try to, just let it happen under the table and we see your bank statement, and like I said, if we see that large deposit, we're going to have to document where that money came from.
It's better just to be more upfront. And if they anticipate a gift or something.
Exactly. We can just help navigate it, and that's where the implementation of my buyer consultation has really helped move that needle, because we get all of those conversations out before you even go look at houses. Yeah. So now, and I've talked about this on other episodes, but like the more thorough we can be on the front end with the pre-approval and like looking at their finances before you even go look at houses, the smoother the process will be for everyone involved. Oh yeah. So that's one thing that I would say is been a huge pickup for me. Is honestly, I probably only started implementing it religiously about a year ago, but having a detailed mortgage consultation up front to go over everything rather than just saying, yep, you're pre-approved, good luck, go find a house. Like we're really going over like everything they want financially out of their house to help make sure it's dialed in. Absolutely. I would say about a year ago, it would be the same for me when like the buyer agency, law came into effect. And I always would try to do the buyer consults and do that before we would go look at houses. But, that law that came into effect has really helped sitting down with people and actually going through the process, and then usually getting more people pre-approved. Yeah. And the thing I've noticed is how many more 5-star reviews we have and how many more like satisfied clients there are. Absolutely. Because we get to be more thorough, and it's not, now granted, a lot of it helps because we're not running around with our heads chopped off like COVID had us doing, and people are just in less of a hurry to react with real estate. But what I will say is like the more thorough we can be up front to make sure that we guide you through it and give you education into, what this process looks like, the better the experience will be once you're actually under contract on a house. Most definitely. So. Well, this has been fantastic. I tell people all the time, we can't let this be the only episode we film. If you ever come up with more stuff or like, you have a client experience you think would be super valuable to share, would love to have you back on again. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's a ton of fun to film content, get to have great conversation. Just I guess give everybody a plug on like how they find you. I'm going to link all your stuff below. But if anybody's watching this and you feel connected with Katie, she's an incredible real estate agent here in Des Moines. I'm sure she'd love to be a resource to help you buy or sell a house too. Yeah. So the name's Katie Stiles, stylesales@gmail.com, and Stylesales is my Instagram handle and TikTok and all the fun things. All the fun things, all the social media, right? Yes. Isn't it cool? But yes. I love it. Well, thank you again for coming on. Thanks for having a conversation. Absolutely. Thank you. And we'll look forward to having another episode here soon. Let's do it. Thank you.